strike. Tom, why don't you lead the way? Tell us what's going on with these strikes.
So we've been talking about the Hollywood strike, and we've been talking about the UAW strike. But in the last 48 hours, the largest strike in U.S. history happened as the healthcare workers walked out.
Oh, great.
So what is happening is, could it be that in the mind of the worker, the unionized worker, and unions, remember, in private unions, maybe private companies, we're not talking about teachers' unions or government unions, those are public unions. These private unions, people are looking around and saying, wow, stock market's up, look at the amount that CEOs make and everything. The economy seems to pop back after COVID, and inflation's hurting me. I want to be paid more. And so how do unionized people do it? They negotiate, and when that doesn't work to their liking of big jumps, they go on strike. And so all the talk about Hollywood over the last 2.5 months, all the talk about the UAW and the auto workers, what's happening to potentially the price and availability of cars as workers aren't working, yet last 48 hours, the largest strike in U.S. history happened. Healthcare workers.
Wow. How many is that?
75,000 went out on day one.
I saw that. And the raise they're asking for is what? What's the raise they're asking for?
It's the standard 20 to 40%, and then they're trying to find out where that soft landing in the negotiation is going to be.
So how different is this one than the other strikes that are taking place?
I don't think it's very different at all. It's like they are trying to make up for lost time, and they're all getting pinched by inflation. So the argument that they're making is, one is economic and saying, and I can't even afford to buy eggs, but on the other side is, hey, we haven't had cost of living increases. That's an argument and a beef with the employer. Well, our cost of living increases haven't kept pace with inflation. Well, if COLA was keeping pace with inflation, last year's COLA would have been 16.5%.
Tom,
after 2 years.
How much of this, we've seen the Hollywood writers strike, we've seen the actors strike, we've seen the United Auto Workers, now we're seeing healthcare. This is like breaking news, right? How much of this is tied to inflation, cost of living increases? How much of it is tied to AI, especially in the writers strike? Make some sense of the common thread of what's actually happening with all these strikes. 'Cause I can't remember a time where it's strike. We've seen the teacher union do this every once in a while. Make sense of this for us, Tom.
So the AI, you bring up a really great point, is there's a lot of factors in here. And so, Adam, I think the AI is not as prevalent in these union and manufacturing and jobs as I don't think AI hits those jobs. I don't think AI hits the worker on the assembly line. The use of robotics does, but that's not AI. What's happening here is these people are regular citizens, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles of everybody in this room. They are out there, and they have felt the effects of now 3 years of inflation, which I added up to 16.5% on core, 24% if you add in energy and things like that. So they're feeling that effect. That's not the fault of the employer. But the COLAs, the cost of living increases, 2%, 3%, 2%, that were in the last union contract, haven't kept up with that. So they're like, hey, look at the stock market. Look at corporate profits. Look at what the CEO made. You know what? Look what happened with inflation. I can't afford to buy eggs. So they're going out on strike. Part of it is a lag in normal COLA. And the other half of it, man, they're trying to make ends meet, and they have one employer, but they're armed with the union contract, and so they're striking.
So you're saying it's not necessarily the fault of the employer. We get that, right? Especially big corporations. At the same time,
probably 60,
corporate
40.
Profits have been up. What about regular businesses out there? Because most people here that are listening aren't running Fortune 500 companies. They're running small businesses, 100 employees, if not less or more. How is it affecting those types of companies as well?
To answer your first question, I think it's 60-40, 60% the economy and 40% the company. Because remember, these are union contracts, and they're dissatisfied with the union contract the minute they sign it, right? From that moment, the average union worker is dissatisfied with the contract because there's all the stuff we didn't get in the contract. Well, we'll wait 3 years, and next time we'll go get them. And I think it's 40% the economy. So I think that there was a simmering frustration, and the inflation over 3 years on Bidenomics, boom, put a match on that.
I also
that dry straw.
I think they're being opportunistic. What is this article saying? 5 things to know about the strike. Can you go a little lower? So
because if you're a patient, Pat, how's it going to affect people that are sick?
Or no?
You know what I mean, Tom? If
I
you're
think I
sick-
know where you're going, Pat. I agree with that word.
I
They're
think-
seeing everybody else struggle.
Yeah, I think it's purely, it's kind of like, all the houses in your community sell for 2 times what you bought 2 years ago. And people are going to be like, dude, I'm selling.
Cash in.
Let's capitalize. Let's cash in on strikes right now. So 5 things you need to know. Workers are mainly striking in California, Colorado, Oregon. You can still see your doctor during the strike. Lab tests may take longer. Your surgery may be rescheduled or postponed. Oh,
That's
wow.
not good.
Inconvenient if it's a triple bypass.
Your prescription may take longer to get. So
yeah.
75,000, I looked at it right now. They're asking for a 25% raise is what they're asking for.
They'll get 50.
Kaiser came back and Kaiser offered them a 12.5 to 16% range to 10,000 employees. But the union came back and said, no, we want more in a season like this. By the way, partially when you looking at this is, why is this happening? You say the economy, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago about a mortgage payment. Did we talk about what a mortgage payment would be on a $500,000?
Yeah, yes, you did. You did the math for everybody, how it doubled.
Did we do that on the podcast or was
You
it on
did that
Twitter?
on the Rumble
I think we did it in
podcast
New York,
right
but I don't-
after LA when we were in LA when you were on Dave Rubin and the
Oh, I did it on Ruben
Yeah.
or I did it on this?
You did it on Rubin.
Okay, so then let me do this. Let me go to this story. So check this out. So mortgage rate races towards 8% after hitting a high not seen since late 2000. Okay, this is a CNBC story that we're talking about. This is, so here's what it looks like.
Rob, get the mortgage calculator from Google up.
Yeah, that would be perfect. So the average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage rate surged to 7.72, the highest since the end of 2000, driven by rising yields on a 10-year treasury, which has been climbing due to strong economic data. Mortgage rates, which had briefly dropped to around 6% at the beginning of the year, have been steadily rising over the summer, impacting home sales despite strong demand. There's a possibility that rates may exceed 8%. The higher mortgage rates have adversely affected housing affordability and a new and existing home sale markets, causing home builders' sentiment to decline. For example, a borrower purchasing a $400,000 house with a 20% down payment on a 30-year fix faced a mortgage payment roughly $930 higher compared to a 3% rate during the height of COVID pandemic. So check this out. Pull up the mortgage calculator if you can. All right, let's say you do $500,000, okay, is the loan, 30-year fixed, and take that to 8%. Okay, take that to 8%. Okay, so the payment is what? $36.69. Just write that down.
$3,700.
$36.69. Okay.
Wow.
Now,
Roommates.
the only thing I want you to change is just change that 8% to 3%, which was what it was 18 months ago, 2108. Okay. So 2108,
Almost 1,500.
you're talking about $1,551 more. So do 1,551 divided by 2108. What's 1,551 divided by 2108? 1,551 divided by 2108 is, it's a 74% increase on mortgage payments. So now, Rob, if we do this, take the 2108, just pull up a regular calculator, and divide the 2108, put 2,108 divided by 0.36. 0.36 equals, that's what the bank is going to want to see for your income.
Times 12.
What?
Okay?
A month?
No, hang on. So the bank is going to want your monthly income to be $58.55.
Jeez.
Do it now times 12 to see what the annual would be. Okay? Equals what?
70.
So they want a $70,000 your income to qualify for a $500,000 loan 18 months ago. Now, go clear the whole thing up.
Real quick, why'd you do 0.36?
That's the debt to income.
Gotcha. That's what you need to be making.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
now,
Explain that for a second.
Debt to
Your
income
bank is
ratio.
evaluating you, right, for people listening?
so the bank is looking at you saying, can this guy afford to buy this house? How much money do you make per month? So they'll take the mortgage payment and divide it times, the typical number is going to be 0.36, and you get that number to know this is what you need to make to be able to afford to buy the house. So now watch this. Go to the 3669. So same house, same area, 18 months different, rates are 8%. Now divided by 0.36. Now the bank wants you to make $10,191.
Times 12?
So
Over $100,000 a year, you're saying.
Yeah, wait.
guys,
yeah.
they want your income
How about
to be
$120,000?
$122,000 to qualify for the same house. So then the question, so then you ask the question for the strikes. and you say, okay, why are they striking? Maybe because they can't afford to buy the house. So Bidenomics, guess what? More he talks about Bidenomics, it's the worst thing he's doing for himself the more he's talking about Bidenomics. And outside of this, you know what's the first default that's showing right now? You know what is the first default? Because right now...
Commercial real estate?
Well, we're seeing on a lower level. So let's categorize the defaults. We have car payments. Under car payments, we have good credit car payments. And we have D-paper, which is subprime car payments. Then on mortgage, you have what? Regular people that got mortgages that have good credit. Then you have subprime. Then you have commercial real estate is what? Regular people that got good, commercial, some of them that did hardcore financing. You have school loans, okay? You know what is the first thing right now that's defaulting right now? Is subprime car payments. Is up, skyrocketing.
Which is core workers that have a reasonable amount of debt.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're probably paying 15%, if less, more, whatever it is.
Yeah, so because these guys' credit is not 750, their credit score is a 650, 620. And they're trying to get car financing. You ever gone to a dealership to get a car financing with bad credit?
Oh,
your payment is 30% higher, 20% higher.
That guy, if you're in that financial situation, probably don't understand interest rates for all that matter. But when you walk into the car lot, they're like, how much does your monthly payment need to be? All right, yeah, I can afford $350.
Well,
They don't look over here that you're paying 18%. That's how
payment-based.
That's how
culture.
car companies,
You're absolutely.
That's how they make their money on financing.
But
don't look here.
Let's describe one of those subprime workers Pat's talking about. How about this? A nurse at Kaiser Permanente making $65,000 a year, 7 years out of school, still school loans. She is a subprime borrower, and she is currently in a picket line.
So that is the reason why I believe a lot of these strikes are taking place, because the economy is destroying the average guy today. It is destroying the average guy. You know who else is starting to default right now? Who else is starting to default right now? By the way, you know WeWork at one point was a $47 billion company. WeWork, you've heard of WeWork. They just defaulted on a payment. Rob, type in WeWork default payment. I think it's a $95 million payment they just defaulted on. Zoom in a little bit. $95 million payment they just defaulted on.
What?
So shared office space rental company WeWork said it wouldn't be making interest payments on about $95 million due Monday, and its shares fell at an all-time low. WeWork said it would use its 30-day grace period for the debt payments to hold discussions with certain stakeholders and to enhance its liquidity. You miss on a $95 million payment. Now, you may say, dude, Pat, that's a lot of money. You were valued at $47 billion. So you know what this shows? Can you type in WeWork highest valuation? WeWork highest valuation. I think it's $47 billion. $47 billion, I was right. So you're a $47 billion. They get, look at this here. In 2017, SoftBank Group made the first of its total $18.5 billion investment in the company.
Wow.
95 million is what?
1.1 billion. You can't make a payment like that? So now you got subprime guys.
Hang on, divide 1.1 billion by 36. How much does that company have to make?
You divide. That's a good point, by the way. You divide. You look at default payments on commercial real estate. Okay. So WeWork is the bigger commercial because that's what they do. They rent the office space, Then you default on subprime. You know what hit in 2008 that destroyed the economy? Mortgage payments people started defaulting on. We haven't felt that yet. That's why this is a very different. And the reason why default isn't hitting, because people got low interest rates.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, they got low interest rates.
Back in 2008, we all remember Nina. Right, no income, no assets. Yeah, those are the good old days. Stripper making $100,000 cash, bought just 3 houses. Congratulations, we saw that.
Remember the
Big Short?
That's the scene with Steve Carell. You have 3 houses and a condo.
And a condo, yeah, doing their thing. So
Anaconda, what'd you say? Anaconda.
That
was a song.
He goes, and she goes, Anaconda.
I thought for a second you were singing.
Says,
Well, go ahead.
I don't want to touch you. Can you just dance?
I know you're a big Nicki Minaj fan. I know she's a huge fan of the case studies you do. I know that she cites you all the time. Respect.
Best
here's my question.
I've ever met.
I would like to know the mortgages that are defaulting now, percentage of how many are defaulting from the good old days, 3% or less, versus people that got a mortgage in the last, let's say, 24 months since mortgages have skyrocketed. Where that comes in, you're like, all right, I just really wanted to buy a house. I missed the boat. I could have got 3% a year or two ago. Now I'm at 6.5%. Boom, default. I got laid off my job, unemployed, picket line, what have you. That would be an interesting case study. Have you seen
That would be
on
to see which one is defaulting. Somebody in that space has to break it down and see where these defaults are going to be because they're not here yet. So a lot of real estate and mortgage guys are saying, well, you know, you guys called the doomsday, all this stuff. It's not here. They're right. It's not here yet because people are not selling their houses because they don't want to lose that 3% interest rate.
You know what I'm thinking about too, but you know that like when you don't make a payment, not you, but I'm just saying in general on your credit card, they call the creditors. They call you. What is that $95 million phone call like? Like, hey, yeah, we work. Yeah, what do you guys do? And then Pat, what's the thing that we showed? The 5 ways it's affecting the patients. Rob, one of them was you could still see your doctor.
Yeah,
where? On the picket line?
Yeah.
You're going to have to show him and be like, yo,
Hey,
Doc,
hey, just real quick.
yeah, Doc, it's Vinny. Look, I have a rash. And he's like, just get the hell off the street.
Well, you know, speaking of that $95
Nurse,
million
take his
payment,
temperature and blood pressure. Who?
Yeah,
we
under
talked
the tree.
about what was going on in China. Not Evergrande, but a company bigger than Evergrande in China, the commercial real estate developer. What was the name of that company? Do you recall? Whatever. They're a huge, massive real estate company. They had to make a $25 million payment, whatever the number was.
Yeah.
But they're valued at $100 billion. Some astronomical number, but they didn't make the payment. So not that our audience is concerned of what's going on in Chinese real estate, but here it is right here. Country Garden makes $22 million payment with $15 billion more to go.
That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
So again, this is a sign of what's to come.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.